welcome to episode 3 of Because I've Lost Control of My Life. I am Matthew, and sitting with me is Adam. What's up, man?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Adam, and I'd personally like to welcome you to the first ever communist podcast about Rugrats. Thank you very much.
Is that what all of the news sites are going to say we are? The communist? They're going to say we're paid by Disney because we're communist, socialist, anarchist.
Communist. We're communist, socialist, communists.
And Rugrats is a show against the values of the American people. Or some such shit.
Apparently, Gabor Stupo fled communist Hungary, which I guess is communist in the 70s.
He fled it to bring the ideas here.
He got lured by the siren song of Frank Zappa.
Let's not be too rough on our own ignorance. I mean, after all, it's the thing that makes America great.
The siren song of Frank Zappa. The communist siren song. Well, I guess no, not communist. The capitalist siren song of Frank Zappa. Oh, boy. I wonder if that was a thing back in the early 90s when Rugrats first started. Were there news outfits of a certain political persuasion out there saying it was pushing its agenda because it had Jewish characters?
It would probably have to have been like some weird right-wing newsletter or something because Fox News wasn't around yet.
Yeah.
They'd probably be setting their sights on, like, whenever they came around, they'd be like going after Bill Clinton. I know George H.W. Bush is not too fond of The Simpsons.
Oh, really? Can you tell me, what can you tell me about that?
I just remember he was saying that he wanted children to be less like Bart Simpson and more like, I don't know, some old sitcom character, something like that. Either that or I'm remembering an old Simpsons joke wrong. I do think he got mad whenever Bart Simpson said, "Hi, I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?"
It's so funny to think about that time period that was like the worst thing for like a kid to say on television or something like that. My mom would never, ever let me watch Beavis and Butthead or later on South Park. But Simpson, for me anyway, The Simpsons was never an issue. But I've talked to people our age group who were like, oh, my parents wouldn't let me watch The Simpsons. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. My aunt used to record episodes of The Simpsons for me, and I'd like watch those tapes nonstop. It was so fun.
Wear them out.
And my mom wouldn't let me watch Beavis and Butthead for like a few years, and then she's like, okay, I know you really want to watch a couple of idiots chant diarrhea, cha-cha-cha. I guess you're allowed.
I remember to watch Beavis and Butthead on Saturdays or Sunday nights, I'd go to my grandma's house, and her TV that she had only, oh my god, I sound so old talking about this, 15 channels. No, her TV only went up to like 36 or something like that. And her best friend Vic lived on the first floor of the apartment building, and his like went up to a whopping like 50 different channels. And MTV where we were was 38 or something like that. So she would take me downstairs and let me watch it on his TV while they played cards. And that's a nice little story of how I subverted my mother's authority through my grandmother and her best friend.
I also remember, like, when I was a kid, my parents had, like, an old black and white TV in their bedroom that literally only had, like, 11 channels on the dial, and they had an Atari 2600. But it wasn't because I'm so old that better technology didn't exist. We were just poor.
Old technology and poor people.
They go hand in hand.
Yes, they go hand in hand. I like that it was black and white too. The best detail is the 2600 hooked up to it. So actually, something that we neglected to talk about, even in the first episode, is the intro to the show, the introductory animation. We never said anything about it.
It's got the same vibe as the pilot episode.
Yeah.
It's got the panning. It's a little more rough than an actual episode of Rugrats tends to be. It's got like weird robots and shit.
that little cat robot that's walking around or whatever that Tommy squirts with his milk.
Yeah, it defines the show as a perpetual chaos scene.
Yeah, the intro is a chaos scene. But yeah, I remember even as a little kid, it standing out to me as something that, like, why does it look different from the actual show? Not everybody notices that stuff, I don't think. I mean, I've met people who've been like, what are you talking about? The animation was different. I'm like, do you have eyes? Like, again, like, compared to very first episode, the animation is different. But the character designs are the same, but the animation is different.
Also, one of the very few times that Tommy directly assaults his parents.
Or someone behind them. I'd like to think that, like, the mailman is coming up the steps, or, like, Drew, or somebody to pick up the how about Howard? Howard is behind them.
Howard doesn't get enough abuse.
Anyways, I think we've stretched enough for an intro. How about we talk about episode 3, segment 1?
At the movies. Tommy comes down with a case of reptar fever after he sees the big green dinosaur destroy a city in a movie trailer on TV. When the grown-ups decide to take the babies to see the new Dummy Bears movie, Tommy again sees Reptar on a poster at the theater. The babies go on a kaiju hunt that results in big losses for the Octoplex.
I have to say, the very first thing that stands out to me about this episode is the music.
In the very beginning?
Yeah.
Tommy's pushing around his little ball toy where it knocks up the balls in the little bubble.
Yeah, it's like a lawnmower with bubbles inside of it. What are those things called? Every little kid ever has had one or has one.
They don't even make them anymore, I don't believe. I haven't seen one in quite a long time, but they're very cool. I wish I had one.
They just roll around your house.
Just roll around my house until something interesting comes on TV. I actually do like the moments, at least in these early episodes, when Tommy's just doing baby stuff.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. Like, we mentioned either last week or the week before that I've been watching ahead on the episodes. I'm, like, way into season 2 now, and there's definitely a formula that takes over on the show. Not even necessarily just with, like, stories, but with the music. In the early episodes, it seems like Mark Mothersbaugh had more freedom, or there's a lot more variation, like every episode having some kind of really new music without really too many repeating themes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think the one theme that I kind of noticed repeating, and I don't know if it happens more than twice in the first season, is Angelica's music whenever she shows up.
Yeah.
She's got kind of the same theme going. So, this episode is the first appearance of Reptar, obviously very influenced by Godzilla. Apparently, Gabor and Arlene got sued by the Toho company for similarities to Godzilla.
That's great.
And they eventually, I don't know when, eventually they started using him less. Maybe when it was bad. I don't know. Because he's even, like, they make a car out of him in the movie.
I wonder if there was like a settlement or something.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Somebody knows.
Yeah.
I didn't look that far into it. I'm doing only cursory searches. I'm not like
just makes it more interesting.
For this yet.
Hear that out there in listener land? If you want us to do more research for this show, you better start paying us. You only get internship effort in for this podcast.
Anyway, I believe the voice in the trailer, doing the classic '90s trailer voice. I think this is Michael Bell again, Drew Pickles. Their go-to for like one-off characters and background noises. So it's not credited. Most of the background characters aren't in Rugrats. I noticed they like to keep it down to like two frames of cast at the end.
Oh, okay, the credit screens. Yeah, that makes sense. They just start using that short intro we mentioned last week.
Yeah, Tommy, he's enraptured by Reptar.
Yeah.
He immediately is drawn to the TV screen. Unfortunately, Stu picks him up, carries him away, and Tommy screams, Reptar!
Yeah, Tommy.
That's one of the only times the adults acknowledge anything the babies say.
That isn't just crying. That's one of my favorite running bits in this episode, though, is them mishearing Tommy saying Reptar. Yes, Tommy, riffraff. Like,
Actually, I think the riffraff is in another episode.
I think you're right, because I was listening for it.
He does it again with Dee Dee. She just says that. Luckily, they're going to the movies anyway to see the Dummy Bears.
The Dummy Bears in The Land Without Smiles.
A kind of parody of Care Bears.
Kind of.
I kind of watched as a kid, but
I
don't really remember it.
Yeah, I don't either. I have a vague impression in my brain of, like, what the animation looked like. Like, the designs obviously were kind of all over the place at some point during our actual youth. But I have no memory at all of watching it. I have a vague impression of it being on, like, Saturday morning cartoons, but that's it.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that the writers did not have a high opinion of shows like that. Just saw them as
pablum.
Yes, exactly.
There's actually an episode from season 2 to jump ahead a little bit. It's the bowling alley episode. They put the kids in, like, the playpen, and the attendant for the playpen turns on a Dummy Bears movie, and they all just get this blank and enraptured look on their face, and they're just, like, singing along like it's zombifying them.
Okay, so they end up going to the movie theater, and we get this panning shot of different characters you see in the background during the episode, and one guy we both zeroed in on
immediately
appears to be the Rugrats version of Barney Gumble from The Simpsons.
It's way too close to be a coincidence. There's no way that is a coincidence. Like, even hair.
They worked on the show.
Yeah.
Wearing, like, the same outfit. He's at the front of the line buying a ticket. It's one of those scenes that you just pause and you laugh at the character.
Yeah. Like, and I never ever noticed that in my other watch throughs, and this time rewatching it yesterday or the day before I took my notes, I just like, that's Barney, and he's like the very front of the line too, and yeah, it's way too close, and the personnel are too close for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah, Matthew sent this to me, and he's like, "Is that Barney?" And I'm like, "God damn it!"
So perfect. Another funny thing is the names of the movies, both on the marquee and throughout the movie theater, or outside the movie theater as they're going in. There's obviously there's Reptar. There's something called In Love, Dad the Kid.
my dad the kid.
Sorry, Dummy Bears. The Adventures of Idaho Ike, which is just the Indiana Jones parody. Something called Total Mayhem, which name-wise obviously is a parody of Total Recall or Total Recall, whichever you prefer to say.
More like a Commando parody or something.
Yeah, or even we're getting ahead a little bit here, but whenever they're looking at the movies through the screen, you see somebody.
The taxi driver?
Yeah, the Travis Bickle scene, only he's holding a banana. Like, it's just a great little detail.
Like, that is the funniest scene in the whole episode, maybe.
Is this it, Tommy?
Hey, you talking to me?
No, I was talking to Tommy. Let's try another one.
That's getting a little bit ahead, but that's really funny. They get to the movie theater, and all the baby that there's that great shot as they enter the theater, and there's just like children crying and screaming and throwing shit everywhere.
There's actually a baby that looks exactly like Tommy from behind.
Really?
Like climbing over a seat there. And there's another baby that's just kind of like even smaller. Like I don't know, it's by himself. Kind of like reaching into the aisle without a shirt, just a diaper.
Paid to get in that way.
Most of the character designs in this scene are hilarious.
Yeah, well, and actually backing up slightly, as they're panning down the line of characters waiting to pay to get into the movie theater, like there's some great, obviously Barney, but then even like the main characters, because it's like as it's panning, they're just like stills, they're not moving or anything.
Yeah. And we get another appearance of Chaz without his wife, because as we know, Stu has turned her into burgers at this point.
If you're just tuning in, look at episode 2 for what exactly he is talking about. We also see Betty and Howard in the line. Neither of them have any actual lines this episode, but they are also among the characters present for the movie theater. So anyway, they're in the movie theater. They're sitting in the very front, it would appear. I would assume, because the babies are sitting on the floor in front of the parents. So, like, how would they?
They can't even see the. They can't even see the screen.
Yeah, seriously. So Tommy says,
Chucky fella, I've got to tell you about this great thing I saw. What? Reptar.
and of course, all the children are enraptured at the thought of a giant dinosaur destroying a city. They decide to go off on a hunt for him because there is the poster outside.
A note about the scene with the Dummy Bears movie. Sound design of this really sounds like you're in a movie theater. I don't know if they just added some reverb to it and that's all they needed to do, but I was always impressed with how much it sounded like actually being at the movies.
Yeah, and not even counting a little kids movie with people screaming, just like, just in general.
Land without brains is more like it.
There's some really, Grandpa Lou is obviously a favorite character of ours. There's some really, really good lines in this episode from him.
Yeah, and every other adult is like completely engaged with this movie.
Enraptured.
Their mouths, they're all, their jaws are dropped, and Grandpa Lou's just sitting there with like
disgusted,
a sour face.
We should have gone bowling.
Stu especially is transfixed throughout this episode.
Yeah, Stu, and that's one of the reasons we relate with Stu is his apparent love of children's media. He's way too old for, and he should fucking grow up.
It's a good thing there's no evidence of us liking children's media on the internet. Oh wait,
well, I can't name a children's cartoon that I know that's airing now that I like, and Stu likes this shit.
Yeah.
He's an adult seeing it for the first time. And this is something that we're remembering from like 20 or more years ago.
Yeah.
More. Almost 30, really.
Yeah. I can't even tell you what little kid shows are on right now. I have zero idea.
Yeah, I'm not too interested. But as the kids go out, they wander into other movies searching for Reptar. And the very first one they go to is a movie called In Love, where it's just this couple on
kissing,
screen making out. I like there's the sound for this scene is like a great Mark Mothersbaugh song in the background, but it's two actors like moaning and making kissing voices over each other, and my instincts listening to this is telling me that one of them is Michael Bell, Drew Pickles, and the other one is doing the high pitched moan is Jack Riley, Stu Pickles.
I hope that's the truth.
Brother on brother romance since the Adventure Zone, and that's a joke Matthew won't get.
I was just gonna say, please explain this joke for me and everyone else who's never seen it.
It's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast made by brothers.
Okay, so free plug for you from our massively popular podcast, Because I've Lost Control of My Life.
yeah, free plug for the Adventure Zone. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. You better plug us, jerks. That's our first crossover right there. We're gonna have to reach out and be like, "Hey, we mentioned you. Are you gonna give us free time on your show?"
They're not.
Is that are you impugning their character? Is there gonna be a lawsuit?
No, what I'm saying is that like we're ants and they're already making a living off of this.
Jerks. I don't like them already. I hope this comes back someday. Like if we are making money and living off of this podcast someday, that it comes back and someone says, "Hey, Adventure Zone, that Rugrats podcast talked about you before anyone knew who they were." Oh, shit. Come on. They're in there, and there's a great shot of you see the back of their heads, like, up on the movie screen.
Hey, yo! Down in front!
I've actually been slightly confused about this. Is that supposed to be someone opening the door, like an usher or something? Or someone, like, flashing a flashlight?
Yeah, I think somebody yells down in front, and so an usher comes in and shines a flashlight at them.
That makes sense. And then they all drop, and Chucky says, "Run away, monster!"
And on their way out, they accidentally sexually harass a lady and ruins her date's time.
That's so good. Yeah, the Tommy, Phil, and Lil get separated from Chucky because that's humor right there. The kid that's afraid is the one that's alone. Although they don't really do too much of it in this episode. But anyway, Tommy and Phil and Lil all jump up on a folding movie chair, and it closes on them. And as they're squeezing out the bottom, Tommy reaches out and grabs this lady's leg, who her date has just gotten up the courage to put his arm around her, and she smacks him across the face.
After the babies leave that particular movie, they go out to the concession stand area, where we meet Larry and Steve, two teens voiced by Scott Menville, who you may know as Kevin French from Mission Hill, and more lately, he does Robin on Teen Titans.
You mentioned last week the whole thing of if you know an actor's voice, you can pretty much pick it anywhere. I actually didn't realize that was Kevin French, and then I can definitely hear the similarities now, especially in, what's the fat one's name?
I don't know which one is it.
Whichever the fat one is, the short one with the darker hair, I can definitely hear some Kevin French in his voice.
And then there's the buck-toothed one.
Yeah, we're just going to call Larry. Larry is such a good name for someone with buck teeth. Tell it to the Three Stooges, pal. No, so the kids go looking for Reptar in the snack bar as Larry and Steve are arguing about whether grody boards or beanie boards are better. Or wait, is it this episode where they're arguing about that, or is it the next one?
That's this one.
Okay, it is this one. I was lost in my notes.
As they introduce these characters, a great Mark Mothersbaugh song comes on that I've referred to as the Boo Bop Blues.
Larry and Steve, some of the longest running recurring background characters on the show.
Yeah, right, old dude.
Yeah, right, old dude.
So anyway, since the babies are here, we may as well get ready for the first chaos scene of this episode.
Yes, I actually have that listed in my notes. Chaos scene 1 and chaos scene 2, both bolded.
The first sin of the babies is Tommy gets in and soils the popcorn.
Just like he soiled the French restaurant in waiter, there's a baby in my soup.
Scalding himself on hot butter in the process.
Yeah, that's another thing that immediately stands out to me. Not only that the popcorn is now disgusting, are they serving it cold? Like, Tommy's not getting scalded by this like fresh popped popcorn.
I always wonder how. I know at the end a couple characters walk away and say the soda or the popcorn tasted like soda pop.
Yeah.
I just don't know how that happened. Did they get some soda on Tommy first, or are they mistaking like diaper subtle diaper flavor? This
popcorn has subtle notes of diaper.
No, I know the real reason is that it's just a joke.
Yeah, it's the real reason it's just a joke. We mentioned the Rugrats theory on episode 1, and I'm just thinking to myself, this is one of those little things that so we should make a parody where someone takes little things like that, like jokes that have no context, and like put everything together. And make something up, but I get connected to that. It's like, what? This makes no sense. Why would we never actually see soda pop get into the popcorn machine? So how does it taste like soda pop? Well, here's the real reason. It's just like a clickbaity kind of stupid fucking thing that the internet tends to breed.
Top 5 reasons that popcorn tasted like soda pop.
Number 1, it was a joke. Why did you read this far? It's a social commentary on the youth of the day and their inability to clean. They actually cleaned up a pop spill, a soda pop spill earlier, and when the popcorn machine had no popcorn in it, they didn't bother to wring out the soda pop, and they just used the soda pop rag instead of using soapy water to clean the inside of it. I don't fucking know. I'm just stretching for something that stupid people would say.
That actually is a good explanation you can make up off the top of your head, that Larry and Steve are just bad at selling concessions.
They're just bad.
Oh, we accidentally put soda in the butter.
Yeah, right, dude. No one's gonna notice.
No way, dude.
My horrible impression. So anyway, for the chaos scene I have listed, first you have the baby and the popcorn. You have Phil and Lil spraying pressing the buttons on the pop machine and spraying it all over the floor. And then it breaks and continues to spray. Chucky is throwing food around and double fisting eating chocolate bars. Phil and Lil are squirting ketchup and mustard, and there's some great audio of the sound of it squirting out of the dispenser machines. They throw straws and dump the entire box on the floor.
Until Chucky notices a light coming from upstairs from the projection room. The babies hypothesize that it may be the sun or the moon.
Is it the sun? The moon? Reptar. Again, I have to emphasize just how good the music is in this episode. You mentioned the actual audio of the movie theater and how it sounded like a movie theater. I think the impression that Mark Mothersbaugh music gives is like perfect for a movie theater. I don't know why. It's just he captures the mood, is what I'm trying to say. So somehow all of the babies make it to the top of the stairs.
Greatest feat.
Yeah,
so far.
Those stairs can be pretty tall, pretty high for babies. I know from my baby adventures. So anyway, they go up to the projection booth, and we see a projectionist who is reading a comic book called Slime Man.
Is that a parody of Toxic Avenger?
I was thinking Swamp Thing, but
yeah.
One of my favorite moments in this episode is when the babies are looking through the different windows at the different movies playing. Is it here or when they're in the kissing movie where Lil says, "I hate kissing movies. Nothing ever happens."
It's right after they leave the kissing movie.
Okay, because that's a really great line.
This is where the aforementioned Taxi Driver parody comes up.
I think bananas are a sight gag that this show likes to some extent. There's a later episode in this season involving bananas, the kidnapping episode.
It might even be the next episode. I don't remember.
Is that Ruthless Tommy?
Yeah, that's Ruthless Tommy.
Yeah, okay.
There's just something funny about them not changing much from the Taxi Driver, except that he's holding a banana. He's practicing to shoot a senator with that banana, so you shouldn't be laughing, really.
He's Adam's disciplining me live on the podcast. But yeah, anyway, they go through and they look through other movies. We see the Indiana Jones parody, The Adventures of Idaho Ike. Tommy makes the comment on one. I've seen this one already. So apparently it's not their first time in the theater.
Oh, it was the Dummy Bears movie. They only saying that because they were in the
they were in the
movie.
They already have a complete impression of in their baby minds. We need to make note of back in the movie theater with the adults who are still completely enraptured, Stu crying, and and the little girl saying,
"It's too late for me."
And Grandpa,
"It's too late for me, too."
And then everyone shushes him, and he says,
"I'm gonna get some candy. I'd rather rot my teeth than sit here and rot my brain."
Back to the projection booth, and they finally find Reptar with the iconic music sting.
Everything could have gone according to plan if there weren't one too many babies.
All goes accordion to plan. It's so funny they're looking for Reptar for so long, and when Phil is trying to peek over their heads to look into the theater, he falls onto the film reel and is spinning around, and when the babies see this, they immediately lose all interest in watching the movie, and chaos scene number 2 begins.
Yeah, as they start spinning and grabbing film, jumping through the air like higher than a baby could, and pulling it down with them.
Swinging on it.
For some reason, I get the impression that this projectionist is like a caricature of somebody that works on the show or something. I have no idea. He just looks like an insert.
An animator person, a grizzled worker person working as a projectionist.
At some point, he gets some film curled up on it.
So for Chaos Scene 2, they're knocking over film cans, pulling running film from the projectors and getting it tangled with other running film, swinging on the running film. The film gets jammed in projectors. Not quite as much of a dirt mess as a horribly destructive mess, because film reels were not cheap
Yeah, and it causes the movies to all tear apart as they're watching them, and they must have some impression that they've caused too much trouble before, because for like the one time ever, they're like, we better go.
And this has to be a reference to something, and I want to say it's The Blob, where you see the film slowly creeping towards them as they say that. They even get down to the bottom of the stairs as Grandpa Lou is berating Larry and Steve for the destruction of the snack bar. And now in his day, a teenager knew how to run a snack bar, and he sees the babies come down, and they go back to the movie theater, and you start seeing all of this film coming down from upstairs, and I'm just picturing The Blob. Like, and there is a movie theater scene in The Blob, so I wonder if it's a reference to that.
It comes down the stairs out into the lobby. They're all oblivious to it.
The projectionist is being eaten alive by the film.
The projectionist is dead.
I just wanted to go back to when they're actually watching Reptar, the shot of Reptar as he's roaring, like the city comes up like under his armpits, and the way that is animated, like I don't know how familiar you are with Godzilla movies, that looks like a Godzilla movie, like somebody in a suit, how they would shoot them behind like the fake buildings. That's a really, really nice touch. So they go back to the movie theater, and the Dr. Dummy Bear is on screen and is going to announce whether little Shauna is going to pull through, and then the film officially eats everything, and the movie dies.
It's not fair.
It's just not fair. So anyway, they're leaving. They leave the theater.
Yeah, and we get a scene of a couple like snobby, like upper class people with like their lips, they're protruding out, very snobbish, and I believe it's Michael Bell is the man, and I'm not as sure about the lady, but I think it's the same voice actress as Dee Dee.
Right. The nerve! They didn't even give us our money back. That's definitely a commentary on a certain...
The guy's about to become a ghost.
Is that to imply that the what is the movie called? That In Love, is that the parody of Ghost?
Oh, that would be funny. Yeah. I always assumed that he's just talking about the Dummy Bears movie. and Shauna, he calls Shauna the guy who's about to become a ghost.
Little Shauna, the guy about to become a ghost. So they're leaving, and there's a really, really nice shot that I like.
The buckling in?
Yeah, the buckling in, or buckling up, when Grandpa Lou and Tommy smile at each other. I think that's just like a nice little, one of those nice little bonding, nice feeling moments, I guess.
Yeah, this is how the show manipulates us into loving it for 30 years.
And into thinking there's some humanity behind these destructive babies. He smiled at his grandpa. Aw, it's okay that they destroyed a theater.
This is like when your cat meows at you when it just wants food. So they drive home and they see an advertisement for Reptar, and it's the same Reptar sting.
Now playing at the Octoplex.
The Octoplex went out of business the next day. They weren't insured.
And on this episode of Rugrats, we talk about the film that came alive and ate the world. But yeah, really good episode. I want to say for every one of these first season episodes, one of my favorite episodes, but season 1, I love every episode. It's just, from the animation to the storytelling to the music, I feel like you can just feel the creativity just oozing out of it. There's nothing standard about it yet.
Yeah, it's great material. Watch it again.
Okay, so that was At the Movies. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I had a segment idea, and this is a sort of a play on just something that we've been talking about naturally as part of the show. And that's when we talk about our loser friends. The segment is just called Our Loser Friends. Wherein we tell a funny story or a random note about our other friends not on this podcast, who may be at some point.
At least one of them, maybe.
Yes. So the one I'm about to talk about this week, we mentioned on the first episode, and his pronunciation while playing Dungeons & Dragons of gold pieces, and that is gold pieces. I don't know why I thought about this. I was falling asleep the other day, and I thought about a time when we were walking home from high school, I believe, and it was a really, really, really hot day. And we passed by this old, I can't remember if it was a gas station or like a service station, something for some, one of those things you take a car to. And I was extremely, extremely thirsty, and there was a pop machine outside of it, and we're like, good God, let's go get a drink. And I only had 50 cents, and our friend John had no money at all. So I look at the machine, and everything is sold out except for ginger ale, which is not something I would ever go out of my way to drink. Not that I hate it, like it's fine, but that would not be what I chose. And it just so happened that everything was 50 cents. And I should mention that this service station or whatever it was didn't look like it was in service anymore. Like it was abandoned. This was abandoned car service station pop machine. Anyway, I put my 50 cents in, get the ginger ale. It's literally the last one in the machine, because after that it says like the red light came on, or however you're able to tell. I can't remember. I open it. It's nice and cold. I take a sip and I'm like, oh, thank God, because it's so hot out. John says, hey, can I have a sip of that? And I say, sure. I hand it to him and he puts it back, hands it back to me, and I take it and it's extremely light. And when I say extremely light, like nearly all of the liquid inside of this can is now inside of our friend John. And I'm like, you asshole! Like, you said you were just going to take a sip. And he says, I take big sips! And I was so furious because it was so hot. Ginger ale is not my first choice. This was literally a survival desperation thing. Obviously, that's an over-exaggeration, but what I'm really getting at is that this should have been a sign to 14, 15, 16-year-old us that our friend John was going to grow up to become a vile banker.
I'm going to come back next week with a segment called Our Loser Us, about how he's more successful than us.
Yeah, we should note that this vile banker owns his own home. It's pretty nice. I've been there. He grows snakes in the basement. That's a reference we'll have to explain another time. That's a thread for episode 4 or 5 or somewhere down the road. Do you have any stories you can think of about John or anyone else off the top of your head for this segment that I just sprung on you?
I have all the stories. I remember. I'm sorry, John. I'm picking on you more. But immediately when he brought this up, I remember that when I first met you and I sat behind you in German class, you used to draw these detailed images of ant wars. They weren't very detailed. They were just elaborate. They were just these little like simple ant drawings and tanks and parachuting and stuff. And he'd be doing a new one every day. And somehow I became friends with him after he showed me.
Is it a mark of your social standing in high school that you didn't immediately think he was a loser?
I was much more popular in hie school than I am now. So I don't know why now I think he was.
Busting our good friends' balls is one of the great joys in life.
I love you, John.
We love you, John. You big oaf.
Come on the podcast, even just for a few minutes, to talk about how awful we are.
Episode 3, Segment 2, Slumber Party.
Against her will, Angelica visits for a slumber party with Tommy. When she opens the bedroom window to let out the overwhelming baby stench, the cold air causes him to come down with a fever of the non-Reptar variety. As his family tries to soothe him, Tommy hallucinates that they are the characters from his crib mobile.
This might be my favorite episode of the show, and it might be one of the least funny episodes. It's definitely got some more serious subject matter to it.
The shots of Tommy looking sick and like the shot of him under the cover shivering, it's genuinely really, really sad and scary.
Then Tommy has never before shown a vulnerability.
One of my favorite baby mispronunciations is when Dee Dee tells Tommy that Angelica's coming over for a slumber party, and he goes,
Slumber Party.
I've always loved that.
Yeah, like, he's just mystified. Like, she just told him something important about the universe that he's about to experience. I think the show does a good job, at least in the first season, of the babies having, like, some sort of influence from the actions of the adults, but having absolutely no context or understanding of what they're doing whatsoever. I honestly think maybe that formula is part of what made the show so great. There's a theory that the show sucks solely because of, like, the other writers and Paul Germain left the show before they came back.
Yeah.
And I went back earlier this week to watch some of his other stuff. He's known for Recess, which people a few years younger than us will swear by, and a show called Lloyd in Space. I went back and I tried watching them, and, you know, I was not, like, disgusted or bored with them, but at the same time, you know, I'm not getting the same sense of all these things coming together.
Yeah.
Probably mostly by accident.
Yeah.
That made this show good. Like, you get the songwriter from Devo, you get this guy from Hungary with the weird art style,
The little elf man.
You get his wife in here who, you know, they say that she's always fighting to dumb the show down, but, you know, if she wanted the babies to act more like babies, this first season has a lot more of that, and it's the better season out of the first three.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned, I've been meaning to mention this, like the last 3 episodes, is that writing a few episodes and being the story editor is Craig Bartlett, who is the creator of Hey Arnold. And I actually do think that show is pretty good. I mean, I was a little old for it. I don't love it the same way as Rugrats, but I don't know if he came back for the later episodes. Maybe he's the magic ingredient for this. I don't know. But Craig Bartlett, also married to Lisa Groening, who I believe is the sister of Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons. So there's another
another connection there. Nice. But I'm going to have to agree with you. I know Recess. What was the other show? Paul Germain show you said?
Lloyd in Space. It's about a little alien kid that lives on a space station, and I feel like the joke a little too fast, or it's just a little too fast. Rugrats is like kind of slower paced, like toddlers like waddling away, scenes like that.
That's a really, really good point you just made. And I was actually thinking about this either last night or today. Even though the segments they're about 11 minutes each, they feel like they're longer. I don't know if is it because there's more going on? Is it because of the pacing, like you just suggested? But there's something about them. They never feel as short as they are to me. In a good way. Sometimes things feel longer because it's a fucking pain to get through. But for this, never. Well, for the first, second, and third season, especially the first.
So yeah, if we're getting back on track to the episode, Drew eventually swings by with Angelica, and she is not happy about being there.
Why do I have to sleep in the baby's room?
And the adults all love her. They don't even see that negative side to her, but the babies do, of course.
Yes.
Tommy doesn't really seem to mind Angelica in this episode, actually.
He's very, very, very dumb baby in this episode in that regard. Like, he speaks, and it's not like when they go somewhere in a dumb baby episode where he just wanders around causing chaos, but he definitely has much more of a baby feeling.
Dumb Tommy is my favorite Tommy.
Yeah.
She's like just talking about only babies drink bottles, and he's just sitting there enjoying his bottle,
staring
down at it, looking back at her. Like,
I get first dibs on beds.
He's like, I don't choose where I sleep. Well, I was just going to say, Drew makes some comment about how Charlotte, his wife,
word.
The first mention of her, I believe.
Yep, it is the first mention.
She goes away a lot for the weekends, and I don't know, she's doing some sort of like seminar about recycled toilets issue, Which I would have thought was hilarious if they said toilet paper when I was a kid.
Yeah, you probably would have picked up on it more. That's a really good point. But no, even in this third episode, the hints of Charlotte being busy all the time. And she does not debut until the Christmas episode of season 2, which is in the back half.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like episode 15, 16, something like that.
She shows up a lot more after that, I guess.
Yes.
And there's a few more Angelica-centered episodes toward the end, I know.
Yep.
Even though I haven't seen them recently. Dee then immediately wants to put them down for a nap, which is an important plot point because it sets it up for Angelica to open the window and let Tommy be sick. But before that, after she tucks her in and flips her pillow, immediately after she leaves the room, Angela gets up and starts punching the pillow. It makes me laugh every time.
She's so full of rage. She's. Do you think there's? Yeah, you go to like a Barnes and Noble. There's like the pop psychology section. There's like. Do you think there's like a Rugrats and psychology book? She has like separation anxiety from her mother or something like that.
The Christian values of Rugrats.
Oh my god. Angelica's family is a case in point of what happens when the mother is in the workforce and not present and the primary caregiver to the child.
As she's punching the pillow, Tommy is perfectly calm and asks,
"What's the slumber party?"
It's like, if you have to ask, you'll never know. Obviously, Angelica sounds nothing like that, but
yeah.
Is it at that point where and he says, he says, "Hey, Angelica," and she says,
"What, dribble face?"
Dribble face. That's a good Angelica insult of Tommy.
That's a really dumb question that only a baby bottle sucker would know.
It smells like a baby's room in here.
And she opens the window and immediately ominous music starts playing.
That's better. Too cold. Oh, Mommy's little baby too cold.
Tommy immediately is too cold.
Yeah.
And it's immediately sad. I don't know if there's too many funny moments from this point on in the
No. It's a sign of how weird those early Nicktoons, how early the Nicktoons are. Like, obviously, Ren and Stimpy is the most out there. Doug is the most normal. Rugrats is in the middle. But there are episodes like this, or at least moments like this hallucination that Tommy's about to have, that are just like, this isn't a children's show about babies. Like, and it's like his fever dream, like he has malaria or something.
Oh, man. I've got the episode playing, and I'm listening to the music right now. It gives me chills. It gives me a fever.
The bit of the music that I know, when you pointed it out, when they open the window, there's like a little metal chime that's like the same tone in the background. That to me gives like a really good sense of or feeling of like cold or wind or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, after they wake up from their nap, or it's the next day, I'm kind of confused because they're down for.
They've woken up from a nap and they're down there having dinner now. He can't keep anything down. He's sneezing. He looks like he's gonna die.
Yeah, they have like in the animation they have like a dark color around his eyes. That when he's like, and they have that close up of him. Like I've been there. I understand the way that feels exactly.
And Angelica's there, and she's trying to contrast herself with Tommy.
I feed myself. Sometimes I stay up till 9 o'clock. But Dee Dee goes to put Tommy to bed because he's very, very visibly sick.
Yeah, and I'm actually amazed that they're not as panicky as I would imagine. I mean, it's not like they do anything wrong, really. It's just that when I imagine Stu and Dee Dee's parenting style, I don't imagine them taking like executive action. I imagine them appealing to higher sources like Lipschitz.
Yeah, right.
You know?
She doesn't mention Lipschitz at all, does she?
She may. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
I like when she's putting it. One of the funny moments is when she's putting him to bed and she's doing the baby talk to him.
And she says, my little wubby, okay? Next time I see my cat, I'm gonna call him my little wubby.
And she spins the mobile and turns out the light and closes the door. And then Tommy is just, awful delirious fever where the walls are expanding out from him. Everything seems disproportionate in size to him.
And his teddy bear falls, and it looks like it could crush him.
Yeah, it crashes, and then he sees Angelica's head appear on the nipple of his bottle.
Baby!
He throws it. His lamp is hopping around.
Yeah, and it's like...
But the music when Angelica opens the window is great, but this fever dream music, it just feels like it just escalates and escalates and escalates, like combined with the sounds of the things he's seeing animate in his room, like again the clown lamp that's like
and the window blowing.
Yeah, which is like, it looks like it's manifested like a face that's just like exists only to blow cold air onto Tommy.
Angelica appears as the Cupid in his mobile.
Which, quick note about the Cupid in the mobile is that the design, it looks like the head is like elderly or something. Like the way the lips are like wrinkled and like the eyes are different sizes and colors and stuff.
Yeah. And then Dee Dee comes in to check on him and she's the moon.
I mentioned for the last episode that bananas are a running gag. For years, I thought she was a banana. Like, everything is like sky or like heavenly related, but she's a banana.
Yeah, Matthew, when he looked up at the sky as a kid, if it was like crescent moon, he'd be like, why is there a banana up there?
I'll have to interview my mom. I'll call her one day and put it on as and record it, and I'll put it as a segment on here and say, Mom, do you remember when I was little and I thought Dee Dee was a banana in that one episode of Rugrats? And she's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? So he sees all of the rest of his family as the characters on his mobile. Drew looks like a star. Angelica looks like an angel. Stu is a stormy cloud, and Lou is an airplane. And of course, as we just mentioned, Dee Dee is a banana.
Lou is a disgusting flesh-colored airplane, apparently built by Hannibal Lecter.
You've been watching Hannibal lately too, haven't you?
Yeah, we just finished the second season. What a fucked up show.
So they're all extremely worried about Tommy. And that's actually something about this episode, even though Angelica is the cause of Tommy's illness, and she still, like, bullies him verbally, I do get the sense that she's genuinely worried about him.
Yeah. I don't know if she's blaming the other babies for coming over and opening the windows and stuff, so much to absolve herself in the eyes of the other adults, because they have no idea what happened, as much as to, like, try not to feel bad for what she did.
It's rationalization.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in a subtle way, she's trying to like help them with like how he got sick.
Yeah,
but trying to not get in trouble for what she did.
Well, that actually brings me to something I read about this show. Is that I'm forgetting the exact details. It's either Arlene Klasky or the person that does Angelica's voice. Who's the person that does Angelica's voice?
Angelica is voiced by Cheryl Chase.
Okay. It's either Arlene Klasky or Cheryl Chase that say they actually don't like Angelica as a character on the show because, one, that she's a bully, but also that, at least initially in these early episodes, she gets zero comeuppance. Well, I mean, I guess in this episode she does in a way, but she definitely does. But
now I know what you're talking about. It's definitely Arlene Klasky.
Okay, it was Arlene Klasky.
She doesn't like Angelica all the way up until the movie, which I don't remember the plot of the movie too much. I just remember Angelica singing that someday I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's mostly what I remember for Angelica's character in that movie.
Yeah. I can't remember which creator it is. It might be Paul Germain. It might be Gabor Chupo, and they say they don't like the movie. And they say, I think it's Paul Germain because he would have been gone. But he says, like, this is, like, not the humor or like the tone of the show we tried to create?
Yeah, I imagine it's him because he, on Gabor's YouTube channel, he has a documentary where he like lauds all the feature films of Rugrats he's done. So
I'm sure his bank account makes him love those movies.
I don't know how it works. I really don't know how it works, but I think Paul Germain has to receive a writing credit for being one of the original creators.
Yeah, you're right.
And I assume he gets some kind of like paycheck from it too. But
yeah, he would have to. But I also would assume since he's gone after season 3, it's not nearly as much as Klasky Chupo would get.
I like a lot of what they've done, but I think we said it before. It's been a long time since I've seen something that I've liked that they've done.
Yeah, I believe the word you used in episode 1 was phoned in for everything for the past like decade or two.
They're not only not gonna be interviewed by us on this, which was already a long shot, they're gonna sue us
for defamation against their show for saying it's not good anymore. I think we briefly mentioned this actually in the first episode. The fact that Paul Germain has been asked back for these new episodes, even I hope that something about it is good, even though that first clip that they played was just ultra bland.
What he has?
I think he's back. I'm pretty sure he's on the list. I might be wrong.
I'll have to look into that. We'll let it stand now.
Yeah.
As an error or the truth.
It'll be a good gag if I'm wrong, if nothing else.
But back to the
Tommy's fever dream.
They're trying to figure out what to do. I think Stu recommends calling the doctor.
Dr. Schachter.
Dr. Schachter. And Grandpa Lou's like,
you two call that doc every time the little fella's got a hiccup.
What you really gotta do is you gotta
get some applesauce and an old sock big enough for his head.
That's just the perfect, I was going to say old wives' tale, but old man medicine. Like, no basis in reality, just like some absurd thing.
A folk remedy.
A folk remedy, yes, thank you.
I remember that one. It was applesauce everywhere.
It didn't work then, it doesn't work now. And then Drew like, oh no, not the applesauce cure. Stu rather comes in after talking to the doctor, and he says the doctor says to give Tommy his baby drops. I'm like, what?
If you have to ask, you'll never know.
Yeah, I guess I will never know. I mean, I've at various points had to give my cat a laxative via a squirt bottle in his mouth.
You have to give him a squirty dukes.
So one little detail I like is when they take Tommy's temperature and the thermometer is a little lightning bolt.
And he's like shocked when it's placed under his arm.
Does that bring him back to a moment of not seeing his hallucination?
Yes.
Okay.
At least it comes back to for the audience's perspective.
Yeah.
Where they're mobile characters.
Yeah.
A radio is bigger than his pillow. She is consulting Lipschitz right now. As a last resort, surprisingly.
Yeah. It's not the first thing. It's like, we're having our first slumber party. We better consult Lipschitz.
Yeah, they consult their doctor first, like
normal people. At what point does Grandpa say something about 15 miles in the snow with no shoes? What's the context of that? In my day, we didn't get sick. We walked 15 miles in the snow with no shoes. Well, I don't know. All I know is that he says it.
I know that they roll their eyes at that, I think. Like, all at the same time. All the airplane, the moon, the cloud. Not the airplane. The airplane is Grandpa.
Yeah. He rolls his eyes at himself. He can't help talking.
Apparently Dr. Lipschitz recommends they sing him a lullaby.
Yes.
It is actually one of the sweetest scenes of the whole series.
Yes. Again, there's not many funny episodes in this, but it's good for character moments.
Yeah, and he's cradled in Stu's cloud arms as they go line for line between Stu and Dee Dee. Even between Stu and Dee Dee, there's you can see their relationship in it.
When he says, nice, Dee Dee.
Good one, Dee.
Thanks. We'll call up the doctor. His name is Herman Schachter. That's a good moment.
Tommy looks like shit all the way up until the moment where Angelica comes up and realizes he's not faking it.
I don't think he is faking it.
And he pukes off.
Wait up, Muffin! You're dripping everywhere! That's my boy.
And then we see the airplane, the banana, and the storm cloud fade off into space while holding Tommy in a circle. Nice little moment.
And he wakes up the next morning to a bird singing outside his window.
Rugrats bird number 2.
Yeah, Rugrats bird number 2. It may be the same bird that got almost killed by a ball. It looks similar.
Yeah. I don't know. Really quick, animation error here. When Tommy wakes up and yawns, his mouth is full of teeth. Yeah. Completely full of teeth.
Either it's completely full of teeth or they didn't color his gums.
Or maybe the animators didn't realize it wasn't supposed to be teeth.
That happens,
Another show I really like that I'm going to mention an animation error for is from the show Undergrads, which is a show I really, really love that was canceled after one season. In the very, very last episode, it ends kind of sad as the characters are like splitting up and the main character and his potential love interest have had a big fight. And it's supposed to be this melancholy scene, and he climbs to the top of his dorm to overlook the entire campus. And he's smiling. He has this big shit-eating grin on his face. And then I watched an interview with the creator, and he said, that was literally my own inexperience with animation. Like when I think he said they sent the concept art, storyboards, yes. But anyway, they sent the animation. They sent it off to South Korea, I think he said, and they didn't specifically draw the main character like frowning and looking sad over everything. And it's really, really standard for animators to draw characters that is smiling, as he found out. So they got the completed episode back, and he's like, wait a minute, why is he smiling at this really sad moment? For any potential animators out there, make sure you're specific about this kind of thing. But anyway, that was a long-winded way of explaining that maybe that was supposed to be his gums, and they're used to coloring in teeth and not baby gums.
Yeah, and he wakes up, he's looking around the room, and he sees all of his family members sleeping there, because they kept watch over him while he was sick.
All night.
Even his Uncle Drew, who doesn't really particularly interact with him very much.
Yeah, he's laying in the little cot with Angelica, who's wearing now a sleepy shirt. Dee Dee and Stu are curled up in a rocking chair. And they're just in a chair. And Grandpa Lou is in a rocking chair with junk food all around him. Potato chips, sody pop.
And Tommy looks very happy to see them all there.
And he feels much better. Oh, and Angelica is sucking her thumb after having mocked Tommy the entire episode for drinking or sucking out a bottle.
She says something along the lines of,
I've never seen anybody barf like that. Wow.
Tommy looks embarrassed.
Louis looks bashful, like he looks like, oh,
you're praising me.
You're praising me. And I don't even know if Drew ever acknowledges Tommy
again after this.
Yeah, he just calls him, "How you doing, sports fan?"
Yeah, that's such a random thing. Like, so you call kid like, "Hey, sport," but sports fan. Interesting. I wonder if that's just a random variation they put in there for the writers, or if it's personal experience. Anyway, Grandpa Lou is gonna make breakfast.
Pancakes and applesauce.
I got the strangest hankering for some applesauce.
So everyone goes downstairs, and Tommy asks Angelica, "Are slumber parties always like that, Angelica?" And she says,
It's like I told you before. If you have to ask, you'll never know.
And she lets him out of his crib, and Tommy says, "Hey, wait," and goes following her downstairs for breakfast.
And that's the end of this episode today.
And I mentioned earlier that I get the impression that Angelica does have some affection for Tommy. Like, she's still mocking him, but she lets him out of his crib. And the fact that Tommy is eager to catch up with her, like, I don't know, I get more of a sense of a positive familial relationship between the two.
Yeah, and I kind of get, like, the overall senses that Angelica feels left out when the other babies are all together.
Back to Rugrats and psychology.
Yeah. She wants to be part of their group. I think they made her, like, angry and always, like, an antagonist, but they didn't make her completely unsympathetic.
No. Really great episode. As we said several times, low on the funny, but high on the character building, high on the sweet factor, and the weird factor.
And the weird factor. Like I said before, I haven't rewatched the entire series, but I'm pretty sure that even growing up, this was like my favorite episode.
So what is it about this episode that makes it your favorite?
I don't know. I think it's just the heart of it. Like, I enjoy watching his parents show that they love him. Care for him.
Yeah, I mean that's I laugh, but like I'm smiling as I say it. That's not a mocking laugh. I agree. It's you feel good watching this a lot of these early episodes, but especially this one. And then that ending music when Tommy wakes up and is looking around and everybody's been like waiting, like sleeping worried in the same room as him. It's a nice touch.
Isn't it? It's like a variation on the main theme of the show, right?
Yeah, there's like I'm gonna sound pretentious as fuck. It feels ethereal. I don't know.
It's an ethereal take on the main theme of the show.
But it's you said the episode has a lot of heart. I think that's something that's missing from later episodes. Season 2 and 3 have heart, but that's another thing. I went on my little ramble about Season 1 and all the elements that make it the best, and heart is definitely the main thing. Again, Season 2 and 3 have it, but this season, it's for all of the weird humor, you're left feeling good inside and smiling at the end of a lot of these episodes. As it's like we mentioned at the end of the last episode, as they're leaving the movie theater, where Grandpa Lou and Tommy are buckling up and they smile at each other. That's like the kid-grandparent relationship. I mean, it's my grandmother and I had an extremely close relationship. I like relate very much to that. So I think they capture that well.
Yeah, it's nice to watch. It's nice to see people like care about each other. I guess it does feel like a lot of the TV in the last 10, 15 years has been just like about darker sides of people's relationships.
Really
like
cynical.
Manipulation, cynical. Watching this, maybe I've been starved for it for a while.
Maybe this is a spoiler for something else we can do way in the future when we're done doing Rugrats. Adam and I are both huge fans of Star Trek. Our favorite one of the shows is Deep Space Nine, and even though like that came out and was like the dark Star Trek, it has like it never lets go of like the positive ideals of Starfleet, I guess. The new shows, Picard in particular, it's like a waking nightmare with like people being tortured and like people dropping the F-bomb and all of this other stuff. And it's just like, I hate it. And go ahead.
Picard in particular has the worst line of any show ever in history. I mentioned this to Matthew every few weeks, but the one character comes down and she goes, "Well, I'm done murdering people, so that's good."
Oh, God, I can't even laugh at it. It's just, how do you get something that positive so wrong? It's like I said, our favorite one of the shows is Deep Space Nine, and that is the dark show of the original ones, but
not anymore.
No, and even it never loses its sense of hopefulness or like striving towards utopia.
It has one of the best friendships on TV.
Dr. Bashir and Chief O'Brien, which you see develop over the show because they dislike each other at the beginning.
Yeah.
You do a whole other episode about Star Trek right now, but unlike the early episodes of The Next Generation, Gene Roddenberry's his directive to the writers was like, none of the main characters can be in conflict with each other because this is a utopian future and we all talk things out and get along now, which creates huge, huge problems for storytelling because story, as we all know, is conflict. I think it forced them to be creative. What is on TV now that, reeling it back around to Rugrats, that has that positive, good feeling? Like, everything is just so dark and cynical. And I like a lot of dark and cynical stuff. I mean, some of the stuff that we say on this podcast is really dark and cynical, but then I feel like we come back around to the best parts of the show are its heart and its relationships between characters and like the genuine love you feel between all of the family on this show. Where is that? What show has that now? Like, is it just we've grown out of shows that have it, or
there are a few shows currently that kind of have like it seems like dark and cynical at first, but then they try and have a bit of heart to it. The two shows in particular I'm thinking of is first one is Baskets, Zach Galifianakis and Louis Anderson, where it starts out like Zach Galifianakis playing a loser who wants to become a clown, and it develops more to, his relationships with his family, what he'll do for them. Even though it still kind of has the main character being an asshole a lot of the time. And then the other show is a British show called Flowers.
I don't know that one.
With Julian Barrett from Mighty Boosh and Olivia Colman from Peep Show, who plays Sophie. The first episode is the main character, who is a writer of dark children's books, who goes out and he attempts to hang himself, but the branch breaks. And the first season is basically him trying to hide that from his family. And
what's it called again?
Funny shit. Flowers.
Flowers. Okay, I think I'm gonna look that up. That sounds really good to me.
It has the second season and final season has a very sad ending, though.
Well, so much for that. Spoiler alert.
It bumped me out for weeks.
Oh, wow. Jeez. I think, actually, a show from the past decade that I think we've talked about before, and I think you don't like it, is Derek on Netflix.
Oh, no.
I love that show. It's so good. And Ricky Gervais' show after it, what is it called? Afterlife. That's like another show that I really like. That's a lot more cynical. Like, the main character is tremendously cynical about the world. Like, after his wife has died of cancer, and like he wants to kill himself, but like he slowly starts finding small things in life to live for. And there's some really touching moments as he realized that there are good things in the world. And I don't know. It's not the same as Rugrats, but or Star Trek for that matter, but I like them both. I would recommend them both.
Carl Pilkington is the greatest treasure that Ricky Gervais has ever given us.
Oh, he's so good on this first season of Derek.
The one thing that I can remember liking about Derek is his bad pasted on hair.
But yeah, Rugrats, good show. Last week you started, you mentioned other things that we've been looking into or watching or anything lately. Do you have anything about that to bring up, or should we just talk about Star Trek more?
I've been playing Yakuza 0 for like the last month, which is a weird game about a guy that for, I don't know, stupid reasons has to leave the Yakuza.
For stupid reasons.
It's a thin veneer for like a bunch of extremely enjoyable mini games.
Interesting.
I'm been enjoying it a lot. Just playing, like, learning how to play Mahjong. I've been playing that for like the last month. And another thing is, I haven't gone into like any detail of this, but a bit over a year ago, I kind of injured myself. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on that now, but I've been doing this yoga video from Linda Arkin called Relaxation Yoga that goes through like all the different muscle groups in your body and, tries to ease the tension.
Interesting.
In each individual area. It's relatively old. I think when she released it, they're still on VHS. I think you can find them on YouTube. I feel really good after doing it. I feel like extremely relaxed. And so if anybody else is having like any kind of like pain or tension, I would extremely recommend her relaxation yoga video.
I've never done that yoga workout specifically, but I can relate 100% to how good it is for you, to how good it can make you feel. Even the yoga that I do, which is more of like a specific workout kind of thing, DDP yoga, which was made by the pro wrestler Diamond Dallas Page because he couldn't wrestle anymore. You feel great afterward, and it is more of a workout, but you do get like the yoga stretch, and I feel relaxed and just really good after doing it. 2 free plugs for those companies.
I don't even know if Linda Arkin is still alive.
And there's the kind of dark humor you come back to this show for, with a tinge of heart. Yeah, I think we had a lot of fun this episode. We had our normal fun banter. We made fun of our oath friend John, who's a vile banker. We showed that we have some heart, and we love the cute little moments, and we love that the show shows family that cares for each other. I think that's about it for this week. Do you have any final things you want to say to our millions of listeners out there?
Say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We will be back next with... what episodes are next week? We're dropping the ball.
The next episodes are Baby Commercial and Little Dude.
2 more and the perfect run of season 1 of Rugrats.
Basically both dumb baby episodes, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's Dumb Phil and Lil, which is, you don't ever get that again, I don't think.
So yeah, next week we'll talk about Baby Commercial and Little Dude. I'm excited.
Me too.
Well, we can't get more of a contrived ending than that, so see you next week, folks, and thank you for listening.
Like what you heard? Tune in Sundays at 7 p.m. to all of your favorite podcasting platforms, or go to lostcontrolpod.com for new episodes of Because I've Lost Control of My Life. You can also email us at lostcontrolpod@gmail.com. That's lostcontrolpod@gmail.com.
I have to pee worse than I have ever.